Hi there. I am Dave Evans, a candidate for the school board of St. Anthony, New Brighton, District 282, the 5-year term. I thought I'd like to let you know a little bit about myself. I'm married. My wife is Gwen. Children Ken, 38, Dave, 35, Jim, 32, and Andrew, 26. Jim and Andrew attended District 282 from kindergarten through 12th grade. I have 2 grandchildren, Katie, 10, and Mickey, 7. I'm 59 years old. I graduated from Washburn High School, receiving a mathematics scholarship for the handicapped. Hard of hearing, in my days, that was called deaf. I attended McAllister College, received a Bachelor of Arts degree in education. I received a Master's in Science and Math Education from St. Cloud State, and I did postgraduate work at Bemidji State. I taught school for 34 years and retired in 1993, 3 years ago. 2 years I taught in the Richland-Hartman District and 32 years in the St. Anthony, New Brighton School District. I was a mathematics instructor. In 1992 I was named the Who's Who among America's teachers, and I was a mathematics chair. I also coached some during that time and was named twice District Coach of the Year, and we won 10 straight wrestling titles at one time. Since I've retired, I've been tutoring students from 3 different districts in mathematics on a volunteer basis. I belong to North Suburban Golden K Kiwanis, that's his service organization, and I head up their youth service organization, which for the last 3 years. I oversee the Kiwanis Key Club, that is the high school service organization in South St. Paul, and I'm working to help start a Builders Club, that would be the service organization, for Roseville Middle School. I also work the food shelf and the bike-a-thon for Kiwanis. I served on the Windsor Green Association board for 8 years. That's the townhouse development that I live in. I was officer for 6 of these years. Why am I running? I feel it's important that the district people of District 282 get an opportunity to at least choose or compare an incumbent with someone else. As a retired educator, I can bring to the board different experiences and perspectives. Since my volunteer work has been with children, I consider this an extension of that type of work. What kind of problems do I see facing District 282? The family breakdown in drugs is causing tremendous problems for our schools and our society. States also is freezing or actually lowering the state aid formula, which is going to be a problem for all districts, and as usual, finance and budgeting will be a problem for our district. The first problem, the problem of family breakdown in drugs, I'm sure it is going to make sure that in our school district, 282, that we have problems and support groups in place to help the students deal with these problems. The second problem, as far as the state aid formula, attempt to work with the local state legislators to change as much as possible this and to deal with the problem of cutting programs as few as possible, hopefully not any of them at all, but if it has to be cut, to deal with it in a reasonable manner. As far as finance goes, just let me say, I am a conservative when it comes to spending taxpayers' money. In closing, let me thank CTV for this opportunity to speak to you. Be sure to vote November 5th, and I sure would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
My name is Duane McCarty, and this is my wife, Barbara. Hello. I asked Barbara to join me in this frame because I think it's important that you know that my family is behind me. I was mayor of Moundsview in 1978 through 1985. I then went on to the county board to serve as your county commissioner. During all that time, my family worked with me, and I know they will again when you elect me mayor of Moundsview in November. I have the experience, I have the desire, and I have the drive, and I will work hard for you. But I think we ought to take just a moment and let's go see my Moundsview. Single family residence, to multiple dwelling homes and to manufactured homes, we all have one thing in common. We want to raise our families here. We want to raise them in a safe environment. We want to be sure that we can stay here when we retire. Now let's go talk about some of the things that impact all of this. We're all familiar with the Anoka County Airport, anybody that's been here more than 30 days. As you can see, this is no longer a minor class airport as we were promised back in the 1970s and 1980s. I've worked hard on this project also because I believe that the city of Mounds View was sold short on a lot of these issues. We were sold short by the Metropolitan Airports Commission in their promise that this would be maintained as a minor class airport. It isn't even close to minor class. Now here's some of the things that I think we can do. One of the first things we have to do at this point, now that the airport's gone this far, is get a good, sound evaluation of our real estate values in Mounds View and how this airport may or may not have impacted them in an adverse manner. I think we're going to find that we're suffering from this airport in more ways than just noise, and we really need to attack this again very forcefully and, if necessary, back to court with a Metropolitan Airports Commission who failed just about every promise they ever made to us on this particular subject. What we really need to do here is get people mobilized again, go back, retrace the steps, and make sure that the Metropolitan Airports Commission begins the process that makes this airport safe to live next to. And we need to address the fact that the Metropolitan Airports Commission still has not provided us with the noise abatement strategy that they were ordered to do by the courts back in 1986. Another issue that we really need to deal with, the Bellray Ballroom. Where do we go from here? The process was flawed, and we dislike doing any kind of criticism of our neighbors and friends. So let's talk about just simply process. What should the process have been? We didn't have an engineering architectural study. We had no idea what was in the building. We have no idea what the future costs will be in terms of running the building. We don't even know what the residents want in their community center, if indeed everybody wants a community center at this time. We don't know if it would have been better for us to give up perhaps a little chunk of the rest of the City Hall complex and build our own community center in a manner more compatible with the things that the community would want. Will we need swimming pools? Will there be ball fields around the complex? Will there be volleyball courts within? Folks, we own a dance hall. What do we do now? I think what we really need to do is go back and start from square one. We need to get a good engineering architectural firm who will come in and critique the building for us for condition first. And then we need to know what the floor plate will do for us in terms of a community facility. Then we need to get a good sound handle on future costs. Yes, the original purchase was made with tax increment money, but the future is something different. Tax increment isn't always going to be there. Sooner or later, you will need to have a contribution from the property tax. You will need a contribution from the people who use the building. In Shoreview, it costs you $360 a year to belong as a member if you are a resident. All I'm saying is, let's get on with good, sound reasoning and good, sound, common sense direction when we make these big ticket decisions. Now let's go talk about some other things. Now let's talk about budgeting. Let's talk about how the budgeting process has been working most recently. When we did our city charter, and when the voters adopted the charter in 1979, we laid out several things in our Constitution. That being that the budgeting process would be inclusive of the residents and that it would be truthful. As a matter of fact, our city charter required that budget hearings be held on the budget long before we ever heard of the state-required truth and taxation hearings. I'm not comfortable with our budgeting process because, in effect, unless you're really into it, unless you're really down at City Hall all the time, there's hidden taxes included. The energy tax that was hidden on your energy bills, on your NSP bills, as a franchise fee was, I think, one of the worst decisions that we made in the budgeting process in a very long time. The problem with it is, and I talked to a retired gentleman today as I was door knocking, the problem is most people didn't even know that it included both electric and gas bills on their NSP bill. They were expecting just a tax on the electric bill. The street light and the surface water management fee, all of these things should be right up front and included as part of the computations on your tax increases each year. So far you hear only the increase on your property tax. But when you add in all of the other taxes, the increase most often is always much greater. The year that the energy tax was adopted, as I pointed out to the council, they were touting a 9.23% increase in your property tax. And when we added the energy tax to it, it was a whopping 23% increase. I don't think that's the right way to do business. Many of the people that I've talked to as I've been door knocking have said to me, if we really want those programs, if the funds are really necessary to give us the things that we need to maintain our quality of living in Mounds View, then we'll have to take it on our property tax, because at least there it is deductible on our income taxes, where your special taxes, your hidden taxes, are not. I think that we need to go back to participative government. We need to get people participating in the process again. There is no way that I would have voted to purchase the Belray Ballroom without first including the residents. And it can be done very simply. It needn't be a special election where everyone is howling about the costs. Voting by mail is a thing of today. We do it all the time. It is a reliable source of information from the community. If we have two or more members, or one or two members, that are not comfortable with an issue, why are we going forward with these big ticket costs on a 3-2 vote? It shouldn't happen. We have 5 council members elected. They are all representatives of the community, and if there is one or two that is uncomfortable with the direction we're taking, then we ought to take time to be very careful about where we're going, and not just ram it across because we happen to have a simple majority 3-member vote. This is my Mounds View now, and I'm not comfortable with it the way it is. Let's work together, and together we can make this great community our Mounds View again. Thank you.